Hello, this is Randy Mills, and this is going to be a video tutorial for program administrators to learn how to enter games and check your schedules in the Zebra web system. So we start by logging in. We're going to then click on the Sports Officials Assigning System. Now on this screen, I just want to quickly review Zebra memos. Those are the internal messages that we can send to you that you'll get an email and or a text message notification that there's been a message sent. And one of the nicest thing about Zebra memos is even after the email's been received and the text message been received, you can come back to this page and you can see right here the two most recent Zebra memos that went out. And if you click here, it'll show all the Zebra memos year to date. So you don't have to go look for that email that was talking about the subject you were interested in. So again, if you want to get the text message notifications, go back to our YouTube channel and check on the video that states ZebraWeb updating user profiles and program information, and that'll show you how to make sure your profile is set up correctly. And you can find a quick link to that by going to gsloa.com, and then when you get there, click on the ZebraWeb videos link here on the left, and that will take you to this page where there's a link to get to the channel for the GSLOA YouTube videos. All right, so let's go back to our system here. We're going to talk about games. So one thing that ZebraWeb does very well is make it easier on the users to enter their games for their system. So we're going to start by going up top, and we're going to start by simply hit Enter Games. Once you click there, you have to pick the team that you're going to start to enter the games for. You have to do it one team at a time. So let's just take the 5th grade team here. I'm going to hit Submit. Now, once we're on this screen, let's go over a couple of things. First of all, let's talk about some rules for entering games. You can only enter games that are more than 7 days in advance. The reason for that is assigners need to be able to assign officials, and those officials need some time to be able to accept the games. So if you do need to enter a game that's less than 7 days in advance, you need to contact your local assigner, and that person will get that game entered into the system for you. Now, the other thing you got to be careful of when you're entering it into the games into here is to make sure that you're not duplicating teams playing at the same time or fields playing at the same time. There are some conflict resolution things built in here that you might get an error message telling you that there's a conflict, but it's up to you to make sure that your schedule's entered correctly. So let's start with really simple down here. We're going to click on the date. We're going to pick a date to enter our game. For the sake of argument here, I'm going to enter the first game on Monday, April 12th. Now, the default time is going to be 6:30. We really recommend that if possible, you don't start your games earlier than 6:30. This allows any officials who are on varsity games earlier in the day will still have time to make a 6:30 start. You can start your games as early as 6 p.m. if need be, but we prefer you start after 6:30 when possible. Now, if you notice in this drop down here, it allows you to schedule games on 15-minute intervals. If for some reason you needed a game to start at a time that's not a 15-minute interval, here's what you need to do. You have to start by taking this drop down here, bringing it all the way up to the top, and make sure that it says select time. If you don't do that, it's not going to matter what we put here. It's still going to say the time, the 6:30 or whatever the time is you had in there. So now I'm going to put in here, I want this game to start at 6:40. And obviously we have to check PM. The rest of it's pretty simple. You can't change the home team because that's what you're logged into, so there's no way to change. Who are you going to play on that day? Well, in this case, I'll put Randolph in here. You can hit the R. It'll take you to the beginning of the R's, or you can hit whatever letter you want to go to. All right, they're automatically playing. The location is always going to be the same as the home team. You can't change that. Same thing over here with game type. You cannot change game type. It's always going to be 5th grade. That's what you're in. What you can change is choose the field that you're going to play on. If one of your fields is not listed here, you need to send me an email at randy@njlacrosse.com with the information, and I will get your field added for you. So I'm going to pick the field that the game's going to be played at. Over here, if there's some unique notes for the game that you wanted the other team or the officials to be able to see, you could put information in there, maybe about a parking lot being closed or something else going on. For most cases, you're not going to need this, but that note field is there, and the officials and other team will see that. So I'm going to put a test note in here. I'm going to call this test note, and I'll call this one number 99. So we can put up to 30 games in here. That's way more than we need for any one team. So right now we just entered the one game, and we're going to hit save game. The computer's going to think for a second. It lets us in. Your games have been entered. So how do we check to make sure that A, that game went in correctly, and B, maybe I want to see all my games and see what the schedule looks like? And there's a couple different ways we can do that. One, we hit on games and we go on to view entered games. Once we're here, we can narrow it down if we want to. You can just pick a time period, or you could just pick a certain team. You could also pick, if you just wanted to make sure you entered your games correctly, you could just hit show home games. Then it's not going to show the away games that the other teams had entered that involve your program. So in this case, I'm not going to change anything because I want to see everything. And it brings me here. So this is going to show us all the games that have been entered into the system so far. Just as a heads up, none of these games that are shown right here are actual real games. These are all games that I put into the system just for the purpose of showing some demonstrations. But one thing I'll point out while we're here is, if you look, the system did allow me to double book Maple Grange Park with a 6:10 game on 4/12 and a 6:40 game at 4/12. So obviously that would be a problem, and that would be something you want to go in and fix. But you can see here where the test note went in, test messages, and you can see here, here's a game where Vernon's the away team, so the game was entered by Randolph. So that's one way you can check the status of your games. There's another way to check the status of your games, including seeing whether or not officials have been assigned, and that's going into composite schedule search. Very similar. You can narrow it down if you wanted to see anything more specific. For this purpose, I want to see it all, so I'm going to click View Report. So basically, it's the same thing, but it shows us here that this game has been released. It shows us status. So what released means is that the officials have been assigned. Anytime officials have been assigned to a game, you can no longer make any changes to that game. If you did need to make a change to the game, you would need to contact your local assigner. What on hold means, that means that the game's been correctly entered into the system, but it's not released until the officials are assigned. So all on hold means is it's in the system, waiting for the assigner to put officials on it so it can be released. So going back, another way you can view your schedule is released game schedule. And this is where you'll see the referees that were assigned. So you click here. Again, if you only wanted to see certain teams, certain dates, certain times, if you needed checks for today's game, you could just check today's date. It's only going to show you today's games. If you wanted checks for the officials, but we're going to hit submit to see it all. And as you can see on here, there's been only one released game, which we saw that on the other screen. And here's what else this screen is telling you. Okay, so 2 officials have been put on this game. I put myself, and then I put a test official that I entered into the system on the game. The green means that that official has accepted the game, and they're locked in. The pending means that the official has yet to accept the game. If they don't accept the game, it'll get kicked back to the assigner. Another official will be put on it. But this game now is not able to be edited by anybody at this time. As you see here, it gives you, if you click on that game number, it shows you information about the game. If you need the address or the phone numbers for the officials to get in touch with them. It also shows you the game fee based on the game level of the game. That's some good information for you to have. So another thing for us to do is we can try to edit games. Now again, we can hit games, edit games. Again, I'm going to leave this all blank because I want to see all the games on here. And here's where you can make changes to games. But as I said earlier, you cannot change a game where officials have already started to be assigned. Even if the game's not in released status, if the assigner has started to put the officials on the game, this is what it's going to look like up here. It's going to say assigned, meaning here, even this game, 331, you cannot make any changes to these games. You cannot check on that. But here we've got a game, 331. It's more than 7 days in advance because you also can't change a game that's less than 7 days. If we click on it, you can now go in here and you can make the changes that you needed to make. If you wanted to change the start time, let's change it to a 7:15 start time. If you needed to change the visiting team, anything you needed to change in here, you can hit save. And it says your game change request has been sent. But in our case, that means that the change has been made. So if we go back in now and we want to view our schedule, we can view it any one of the ways we showed you. Let's go to view entered games. We're going to see them all. And we're going to see that that game on 331 now has a 7:15 start time. So if you have any questions, I suggest you go to our YouTube channel. Again, the easiest way to get there is to go to the GSLOA website, click on ZebraWeb videos, and then choose the video. This one will be a tutorial for entering games. You can update your profile. There's several different videos. Some are for officials and some are for the users. I certainly hope this helps. If anybody has any questions, again, reach out to me, Randy@njlacrosse.com. Have a great day.